GD 901, The Concept of Planting Plans, with Duncan Heather. When most people consider a career change to garden design, they do so because they have a love of gardens and plants. This passion doesn't necessarily mean that you have a huge plant knowledge, just a desire to get back to nature and build something that's creative, tangible, and has a sense of longevity. There's been a huge amount written about planting combinations, foliage texture, flower form, and colour theory, to name but a few. But first and foremost, plants make up part of the three-dimensional spatial aspects of the garden. In this introduction to planting, we will look at how plants are represented on plan and how a two-dimensional drawing could be used to envisage the finished three-dimensional space. And we will cover other aspects of planting design in subsequent lectures. Using 5 sizes of circle, you can plan your entire border. If a plant grows 2 meters tall, the chances are it'll grow 2 meters wide. Obviously there are exceptions to this rule, but for simplicity's sake, let's take this as the norm for now. This means we can use circles on our plans, not only to indicate the eventual size and spread of the plant after 3 to 5 years, but also their height. These 5 circles start with a 2-meter circle, which represents the infrastructure planting, our mass plants that provide winter form and interest, and also provide a foil for the smaller, prettier plants that will occupy the fronts of the border. Next are the 1.5 to 1 meter filler plants. These could be both shrubs and large herbaceous perennial plants that provide the mass for the border. Next come the decoratives at 500 millimeters or half a meter. This is the biggest group of plants and represents mostly herbaceous perennials that will be planted approximately 4 per square metre. Finally, the ground cover plants that are represented by either their 300 millimetre circle or a small cross of approximately the same size. These would be planted approximately 9 plants per square metre and would be plants such as ivy, hedrohelix, pachysandra, or vinca minor as examples. In addition to the circles, we will use large crosses of approximately 1 metre across to represent the tree planting positions, but unlike the sketch plan, we do not indicate the canopy spread of the tree, only its planting position. Finally, we use small triangles of approximately 300 millimeters in size to represent climbers and wall shrubs. When drawing out circles, we put a small cross in the centre to indicate the precise planting position. This gives us enough room for the plants to grow and mature without becoming too big. Remember, when you first plant your plants, many won't be much taller than about 15 to 30 centimetres or 6 inches to a foot, so they need time to grow and mature. With climbers, the point of the triangle represents the precise planting position. Finally, if you have several plants of the same variety next to each other, rather than having to name each plant individually, you can join the centre crosses together to indicate that they're all the same variety. Before you start, make a list of the plants that you want to use in your flower border. There are lots of books on the market that have pre-prepared planting plans with lists of plants that work well together. Choose one of these to work from and you can't go wrong. Make sure that you use plants that are suitable for both the soil and the aspect of the site. If the border is in a damp, shady position, it's no good choosing from a list of plants that thrive in hot, dry conditions, as they'll only struggle and may even die. Having made your list, decide which circle sizes best represent plants after 3 to 5 years of growth, and add these plants to this category size. Some plants don't follow the rule of height equals spread, so make sure you focus on making sure the plant spread is what you concentrate on, and make a mental note of the height should it be taller. Now go to your planting plan. Here we have a bed approximately 20 metres by 5 metres wide, with an existing hedge at the back. As a matter of habit, I tend to leave about 500 millimetres to a metre gap at the back of the border when there's a hedge to allow access for cutting and maintenance, but on this occasion we won't. First, start with your infrastructure planting. These are your 2 metre plants that go towards the back of the border, and they can be planted in groups or individually. Sometimes it's appropriate to add larger plants to the front of the border, for example a shrub rose, to create interest and hide the plants behind to create a sense of mystery. Next, I'll put some smaller plants that have a smaller surface area but grow tall, such as grasses, i.e. miscanthus, at the back of the border. Next, I'll start adding my 1.5 metre fillers. Then the 1 metre filler plants. These groups can be blocky in shape or long and sinuous, and depending on the group shapes will have a big influence on your final design. Each will create a different look and feel, which will be discussed in later lectures. Then come the decoratives. These fill the majority of the border depending on the look and feel. And finally, the ground cover plants, if appropriate. Don't forget to link the groups together to indicate the plants are the same variety. In this way, you'll only have to label them once. Once you've done this, you can add labels to the groups, making sure you try to space them as evenly apart as possible, and remember to leave room between the lines to write in the plant names and numbers. Having labelled all the groups, count the plants in each group and add the number to the label. Finally, go to your planting list and look at the circle sizes and choose from which plants would best suit each group, and then add the names. The planting plan is drawn on the base plane and represents a flat plan, but if we were to turn that plan at 90 degrees and look at it from the side view, we can see the circles also give us a very good indication of what the border might look like in 3D. And at an isometric angle, you begin to understand why I said at the beginning of this lecture, the planting, in its simplest form, was just part of the three-dimensional spatial makeup of the garden. Notice the plants at the back of the border, which have a small surface area but are tall, are represented by cones and not circles. This is a John Brooks design from 1996 for the Kowa Creative Arts Company in Japan. It shows an elevation and the planting plan and demonstrates how the plants could be represented to give a three-dimensional spatial impression of the site. And finally, even in winter, when only the dead husks of the plants remain, planting as a three-dimensional space can look stunning.